Blue Lock is probably one of the most hyped sports anime or manga of current times, and one of the biggest reasons for that are the insane quirky characters. We literally have players shapeshifting, getting oddly freaky, and even summoning the Lich himself in the middle of the match just for the love of the game. These aura farming moments are the ones that have you at the edge of your seats with goosebumps wanting more. Today, we will be ranking the players with the most aura in every arc of Blue Lock. These players will be ranked based on their presence on the field, the hype around them, and obviously their aura farming moments. For our 3 selections, we will rank the top 3 players, while in the U20 game and NEL arc, we will rank the top 5. We start off with the first selection, the arc where everything began. In our 3rd place spot, with a value of 40,000 aura, we have none other than King Barrow himself. This one is pretty self-explanatory since his title alone makes him worthy for this spot. During the Team Z vs Team X game, when every player was playing for themselves, Barrow was able to break through an entire mosh pit of players, score a goal by dribbling through Team Z's entire defense, then have his entire team who were playing for themselves earlier centered around him. With literally just one play, he changed the entire shape of the game and made himself a force to be reckoned with. We also can't forget when he made Isagi fumble in front of the goal just by his presence, and had him question his entire existence as a striker afterwards. Although his aura value will be low compared to other players on this list, this era was the best time to invest in the Barrow stocks because later in the video you will see how much it increased over the arcs. Moving on, we have our 2nd place player. I honestly believe without this player, Blue Lock would not have been as hype as it was in the first selection. With an aura value of 150,000 in this selection, we have Meguru Bachira. From the moment Bachira was introduced, this guy was absolutely wilding. During the game of tag, which was not part of the first selection, we literally had Bachira throwing hands just for the love of the game. Getting back on track, he was very relevant in every match of the first selection and literally no one could guard him. If we're talking about Bachira and aura farming, his performance in the Team V match has to be talked about. In that match, Bachira pulled off one of the craziest aura farming moments to this day in Blue Lock. When the entirety of Team Z was on the verge of giving up after being down 3 goals, Bachira stepped up with pure excitement and dribbled through Team V's entire lineup. I remember my first time reading this scene and getting the absolute shivers of hype after he scored. Bachira without a doubt was the best player on Team Z in the first selection, and without him, I honestly think Team Z would have been eliminated. On the topic of Team V versus Team Z, our biggest aura farmer of the first selection was without a doubt Nagi, and I think we can all agree on this one. I remember my first time reading the manga and seeing how many people were absolutely going crazy in the comments, calling Nagi a cheat code and genuinely being concerned for Isagi and Team Z because of how good Nagi was. Nagi was the definition of aura in this selection. He was pulling off these out of this world, physics breaking goals in the most nonchalant way possible without breaking a sweat. We also cannot forget how much he had the Team Z boys besides Bachira stressing because they were on the verge of doing 9 to 5s for the rest of their lives. It literally took Kuon fouling and getting a red card to stop Nagi from scoring and eliminating Team Z. Nagi without a doubt had the most aura in the first selection, and I don't think anyone comes close. With this being said, I think he has one of the highest overall aura values in the entire series, with a whopping 600,000 aura in this selection. We move on to my favorite selection in Blue Lock, the 2nd selection. The aura farming in this selection ramped up tenfold as we were introduced to so many more players. In 3rd place, Nagi makes the list again. I've said this before and I will continue to say this. The 2nd selection was the best era to be a Nagi glazer because of how much screen time and improvement he got. From the beginning of the 2nd selection, it was clear that Nagi was beginning to take soccer seriously, so much so that he betrayed his day 1 Rayo to play with Isagi. I remember seeing so many people being hyped for the Bachira Nagi Isagi team up when reading the manga a couple years back. It was literally like the overpowered character joins the good side and I was all for it. Nagi this selection did not disappoint. He had many feats from carrying Isagi for most of the 2v2 match against Baru and Naruhaya to outsmarting Rin that one time in the last 4v4 match. We also cannot forget in the episode Nagi manga where he absolutely humiliated Hiragi. What even boosts his aura level is the fact that he was doing all of this against players who had been playing for years while he had only started football like a couple months ago. I actually think that his aura was not as crazy as the first selection because of the introduction of other new characters with amazing skill. With that being said, his aura stock decreased to 360,000 in this selection. In our 2nd place spot, we have Isagi. The first half of the 2nd selection was honestly pretty rough for Isagi, and loki had negative aura, but he pulled off the comeback of the century in the 2nd half. From the moment Isagi slammed out Naruhaya and stole his weapon, Isagi began absolutely moving differently with his puzzles. This was honestly our NEL version of Isagi back in the day. We cannot forget that the entire Slow Isagi meme originated from this 2nd selection. More specifically, the Isagi Baru Nagi vs Shigiri Kunigami Ryo match. I'm pretty sure they changed up the translation of what he said, but if you know, you know. During this match, Isagi was straight up aura farming. He literally had Baro tied down on the ropes and even got revenge and forced him into passing in front of the goal. This is probably the most disrespect Baro has ever received in the entire series. I remember how our readers made a complete 180, going from being disappointed in Isagi's performance so far in this selection to being absolutely hyped from Isagi's aura farming and performance in that 3v3 match and later on the 4v4 match against Rin. Isagi aura stock increases exponentially to 390,000 in this second selection. In our first place spot with the highest aura value in the second selection of 700,000, we have the nonchalant edgelord himself, Hitoshi Rin. Rin in the second selection was honestly in a league of his own when it came to aura farming. I mean, his entire introduction was literally just an aura farming moment. There was literally no way he was actually warmed up after kicking 2 balls and making them touch in the air. It was honestly so funny and surprising seeing Rin in the 3v3 match against Isagi, Nagi and Bachira just standing nonchalantly in the middle of the field instead of defending. Then out of nowhere when the game restarts after Isagi scores, he starts yapping about the soccer field being a battlefield and proceeds to pull off a banger from the half line. I could talk about so many other instances when this guy was straight up aura farming in this selection, but it would make the video about an hour long, so let's move on to our third selection. The third selection was pretty short and light, so we're gonna go by quickly with this one. For this selection, I think it's only right we talk about our second and third place players simultaneously because they were kinda aura farming off of each other and they're basically interchangeable on this list. With an aura value of 60,000, these two players are Otoya and Karasu. Otoya and Karasu were honestly a very underrated duo and I'm so glad they got more screen time in the episode Nagi manga. These boys were literally posted up like they were part of the Akatsuki after scoring the first goal against Team A. I think what makes them even cooler is the fact that they were so compatible together and how they were so carefree but still giving Team A a run for their money. We move on to our number 1 spot for this selection and it had to be Ryusei Shido. With a value of 90,000, this guy was an absolute crash out. We all knew this guy was a threat from the moment he made Kunigami fodder in the second selection and then eliminated it. Shido wasn't even aura farming in this selection and there was no reason to because he was that guy when he got introduced. He was willing to throw hands with any and everyone on many occasions. According to Ego, no one in Blue Lock could handle an egoist like Shido. And probably the biggest aura boost that ramped him up to the number 1 spot is that Hitoshi Sai, the best U20 player in Japan, chose to play with him over any other Blue Lock player. Our next 2 arcs on this list are both one of my favorites. They are the U20 Japan vs Blue Lock match and the Neo Egoist League. Both of these arcs were probably the most hype that we've ever had in Blue Lock because the players were going aura for aura at any chance that they could. Starting off with the U20 match with an aura rating of 250,000, we have Baro in 5th place. Baro was originally not picked as a starter for the Blue Lock vs U20 match and was only subbed in with about 20 minutes left in the game, but his presence alone reshaped the entire U20 match. From the moment Baro came onto the field, he was on an absolute mission. No one on the field could predict Baro, not even the Blue Lock players, and literally minutes later, he introduced himself to Japan with his banger. Like a true king, Baro came onto the pitch and conquered with a beautiful goal. Baro's lion aura was a chef's kiss in his goal scene and his celebration was the cherry on top. In our 4th place spot with 350,000 aura, we have a tie with Oliver, IQ and Isagi. Both Oliver, IQ and Isagi were putting in the work for the entire U20 game. From the prologue of the U20 match to the end, IQ was straight up aura farming. From his introduction when he easily held down the crash out Shido to spawning in snakes as his aura, he had so much presence not only on the field but in the locker room as well. He was also responsible for shutting down Isagi and other players for a good chunk of the match. We then have Isagi who was also tied for 4th place. Honestly, Isagi did not have the best of games since he was being shut down so much by Sai and IQ, but he was a crucial part of the plays. Just his presence on the field alone made Sai go out of his way to defend him and have IQ keeping an eye on him for basically the entire game. Obviously, the biggest reason I have him so high on the list is because of his crazy last minute goal that saved Blue Lock. With this goal, Isagi went from being an unknown player to being crowned as the hero of Blue Lock, noticed by Sai and later Kaiser, and becoming a national sensation. We move on to our 3rd place spot. With a total aura stock price of 400,000 aura, in this arc we have Shido. Shido was another one of those players who got subbed in later on in the game and completely changed the flow of the game. The U20 match is probably the birthplace of most Shido Glazers to this day, as his performance was one of the most exceptional that we have ever seen thus far in the show. I don't think many people know this, but Ego literally had anti-Shido tactics to nullify Shido's offense. That alone already portrays the sheer aura that he had in this game. Shido was able to score 2 banger goals in quick succession, and I remember after his second goal, people actually thought Blue Lock were going to lose, especially after Igo's speech to Isagi about Blue Lock indirectly winning even though they would have lost the match because of Shido and other players' performances. Moving on to the second place, we have Itoshi Rin with an aura stock value of 580,000. I honestly think that for most of the U20 game, Rin was the main character on Blue Lock because of how much involvement he had. He was the captain, which already gave him hella aura points, plus he gave the Blue Lockians and all of us hope after he scored the first goal for Blue Lock. I honestly think that Rin had the biggest presence on this field besides Sai and was somehow involved in every single goal that Blue Lock scored in this U20 game. If we have Rin U20 match and just pure aura in one sentence, we have to talk about his destroyer mode. I remember reading and thinking that Rin was about to change after finally realizing that he had supportive teammates, but I was completely wrong as he began to go berserk. This was the first time Rin went into destroyer mode and he did not disappoint. Although he had his tongue out, which was low-key minus aura points, he made up for it with what he did after. Rin literally forgot that they were in a life or death game and decided to destroy the entire Japan's U20 defensive line all by himself. We also have to talk about his matchup versus Sai. This will forever be one of the most iconic moments in all of Blue Lock because of how well the animators did it and the impact that it had on the entire game and audience. Now we move on to our first place spot, and we all know who it is. It is none other than Sai Itoshi. If Rin is the king of aura farming, Sai is the emperor because he had so many Blue Lock fans on the edge of their seats. He had so much presence even before the game because of how hyped up he was by the press, as well as how he was making the nonchalant Rin very chalant every time he was in the picture. Sai's aura value skyrocketed so much in this match, and it is one of the highest overall values on all the players that we rank today. Every time Sai was on the ball, goosebumps came because you knew something was about to go down. He pulled off one of the hardest goals in the entire match and stood there like it was a usual training session. At that time, he was the only one who could control and bring out the best in a crash out like Shido, and had so many other feats that made him deserving of his aura value. Sai was 100% the best player and had the biggest presence on the field by a milestone. And what's even crazier is that he wasn't even going all out for most of or even all of the game. Sai gets an aura value of 990,000, which is the highest that we have so far. Now we move on to the Neo Egoist League. For anime watchers who haven't read the manga yet, there will be some spoilers in this part of the video. The NEL was in a league of its own when it came to aura farming. I want to give honorable mentions to all 5 of our master strikers because for the short time that they played in each game, they were absolute aura merchants. We had Chris Prince summoning Maharaga just to humiliate Paul Yukimaya, Loki speed blitzing everyone and somehow blocking the Kaiser impact, Lavinio toying and dribbling through players like they were traffic cones, and Snuffy and Noel Noir aura farming both on and off the pitch. In our number 5 spot, with an aura value of 500,000, we have Kunigami. At the end of the U20 arc, we were hinted at Kunigami coming from the wildcard, but this Kunigami that we were introduced to was completely different to the Kunigami that we knew of. I have no idea what went down in the wildcard selection, but whatever it was definitely something big because he made a complete change from a wholesome dude to a low-key kinda cringy edgelord. But I honestly cannot be talking because I'm making a video on who has the most aura. Going back to the point, Kunigami was a force to be reckoned with at the beginning of the Neo Egoist League. His edginess and nonchalance, even though it kinda felt strange, was a big aura boost for Kunigami because he was showing the results on the field as well. He had improved so much from the last time we saw him and had a completely different presence on the field. If he kept up his momentum in the last 2 games of the NEL, I think he would have been a lot higher on the list. But with what we have now, he is deserving of the 5th place spot. Moving on to the 4th place, we have our top scorer for the NEL, Baro. King Baro in the NEL was the most aura we've ever seen from him in the manga. He was one of the only 2 players in the NEL to score a hat-trick and literally had an entire team centered around him. This alone shows how prominent Baro was. Baro's entire development from following Snuffy's system to deciding to follow his own ego was absolutely beautiful. And his second goal in the Bastard vs Uber's match was just chef's kiss. Baro in that game alone could easily make the top 5, but with his hat-trick included, his aura stock value skyrocketed even more. Everyone who became a Baro fan from the first selection is filthy rich for investing in the Baro stock because his aura value rises to an impressive 750,000, which is a 710,000 or 1,675% aura increase from the first selection. Now we move on to our top 3 players with the most aura in the entire NEL. These players were literally in beast mode for the entire arc. In 3rd place with an aura value of 960,000, we have Michael Kaiser. Kaiser, from the moment he was introduced, already had so much presence because he was a new Gen 11 striker. He scored in literally every game and his goals only got better with each match. His aura value got boosted so much in the Ubers and PXG match after his crazy bicycle and new Kaiser Impact Magnus shot. We also have to talk about his celebrations because they are honestly some of the best we've seen in the entire manga. That one celebration he did after scoring in the PXG game was one of the most beautiful pieces of art you've ever seen. I would say that Kaiser did lose some aura closer to the end of the NEL because he was getting clowned on by Isagi, but he is still deserving of the 3rd place spot. In 2nd place with a stock value of 985,000 aura, we have Itoshi Rin. Rin in the NEL was not playing at all because he was on an absolute mission. He was the other player to score a hat-trick in the Neo Egoist League, and I'm pretty sure he scored in every game that he played in. Coming into the Bastard vs PXG match, the Rin's aura stock was already doing very well because of his performance in the previous games. But in this game, his stock value went up exponentially. Rin in this game was a different breed. He was so hard to defend against and he had one of the craziest, if not the craziest, disrespect moments in the entire manga. Some people may already know what I'm talking about, as it was a panel where Rin literally had Isagi like a dog on a leash. I strongly believe that if Rin had scored that goal, he would have been deserving of the #1 position, and us Isagi fans would have probably never recovered from this. Rin also went into his destroyer mode for what I believe to be the first time in the entire Neo Egoist League, and he was out for blood. One of the craziest aura farming moments was when he had a clear chance to score a goal, but was like, nah, it's way too easy. After that, he proceeded to score a banger that not even Isagi or Kaiser could predict. Now we move on to our 1st place aura farmer and player with the most aura of the entire NEL with a mind-blowing aura value of 1 million. This player is none other than Yoichi Isagi. Isagi was already decent in his first 2 matches, but in the last 2 games against arguably the 2 best teams, Ubers and PXG, Isagi was unlike any other. Game after game, play after play, Isagi got better and his aura stocks kept on rising. He silenced all the haters who still believed that he was undeserving of the main character role, and he did it in style. He took control of a Bastardman's Shin and basically dethroned Kaiser. He beat some of the best players including Rin and Baro, and was responsible for so many player awakenings in the NEL. He also had one of the highest goal contributions at 8 goals and assists, and we cannot forget that he had the rage bait of the century on Loki. After the NEL, Isagi solidified himself as the face of Blue Lock and even Japanese football. If this is not deserving of our #1 spot and his stock value of 1 million aura points, I honestly don't know what is. So with this being said, these are our overall aura rankings. Let me know if you all think I should have included or not included any more players in this ranking list. Also, with the U20 World Cup on the way, feel free to check out my U20 World Cup simulation that will be up on the screen. This comes to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for more like this. With this being said, I'll see you all in the next one.